one.
Why would you have
What's
guidance?
up, everyone?
Hey!
We are back with another episode of the Trainman Report. We have Alex Montagano, the Trainman, with us today. And for episode 11, we have a special guest, Yisroel Bernath, a rabbi with us. Apparently a hipster rabbi, which we're going to hear more about in a little bit. Apparently, I put it in the title, so...
Love Rabbi, too.
Love Rabbi, love it.
From your profile. So, this is really exciting. I am so excited.
I'm more excited than the two of you.
I actually had a crisis.
I'm just weaning off of caffeine, so it's harder to display my excitement with all the enthusiasm I normally would muster. It's in my soul, though.
But I'm just counting the shoes behind Holden. That's really what I'm doing.
Yeah.
That's always something people, our guests, comment on, by the way. It's the common issue conversation.
Yes.
So Holden, why don't you give us the backstory about your shoes, and please slide in the pickles in there.
I make music, and allow me to be clear. To the fans, it really matters that your shoes match your outfit. And if you want to be boring, you wear the dull colors of everyone else in the room. If you want to stand out in every picture, you wear some vibrancy and add stuff. So like I have orange shoes, it goes with the orange hat. I've got my whole pickle vibe, so there's a lot of green in my stuff. But that means you need variety, because if you wear the same pair of shoes every single time, people are going to notice that type of thing. So honestly, if you shop on specials and you go online, it doesn't cost a lot. It's maybe $80 to $100 a pair, and you get a wide variety of shoes that will last because you don't wear them all each independently very often. I digress. It's all about showing you care about what your fans care about. And if you're in hip-hop, your fans care about style and fashion. It's just exactly what it is. Also, I don't like pickles.
Tremendous amount of work.
It is, and you have to clean them.
Tremendous.
All of them, every time, and you have to scrub them, and it's miserable. But you put that effort in, and it connects with the audience that you're trying to reach, because even if it's not inherently who you are, the effort you're making to bridge the gap to meet the people is noted by the people in the community you're trying to be a part of, especially if you're in music and that kind of world.
Maybe before we finish tonight, we'll do some Hasidic hip hop.
Oh, I'm on my excitement level just went up a notch or two there.
That was HHH right there.
Love it.
All right. So may I? This evening
Absolutely.
we have the pleasure.
Oh, before you do, just make sure to like, comment, and subscribe for those watching on Facebook. Yes. I put the YouTube channel, at least in the Thrive, in the comments. I'm going to put it on Alex's video directly. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube so we could build it up there. This will be out on Spotify and all the things after. Put your questions into the chat. We'll do our best to answer in real time and all that. And yeah, with that being said, I think that's all the good housekeeping.
Hip-hopping these things. He's already totally hip-hopping the intro. Sorry. I digress.
Holden is awesome. No. This is an open conversation there. So he's real. Just, shoot from the hip. It's all good. It's all cool.
Hip-hop.
And yes, hip-hop. That's right. With a hipster. So yes, as I was saying, I had a sort of clothing crisis prior to the show because we're interviewing a hipster rabbi, Love Rabbi, and I'm like, what am I going to wear? So I decided on this, the kind of hipster, like lumberjack look.
Okay.
So, Dear NDG, dear everyone who's listening, I introduced to you Mr. Rabbi Yisroel Bernath, and he is the spiritual director of Chabad of NDG, so I have lots of questions about that. And you're also the Jewish chaplain at Concordia University, so that's interesting. You received a BA in Rabbinical Ordination from the Central Yeshivas Tom J. Teminin in Brooklyn,
New
York.
I am thoroughly enjoying this.
I'm mucking this up on my end.
Oh, you are so mucking this up, and I am thoroughly enjoying it.
And you have a master's in Hebrew letters.
I have a secret for you. You ready for this?
Yeah, go shoot.
In all these Hebrew words that you're mucking up.
Yeah.
CH, it's really C phlegm H. It's huh.
Oh, that's not gonna help me. I'm really not gonna help me.
It's not like Chabad, it's Chabad.
Okay, why don't you just tell us where you got your education from? But what I'm noticing by this profile, which I'm gonna ask you, of course, is like I'm seeing here in New York, you got a MA in Miami, You also in where is this structural cognitive? You had a diploma in Hasada Shish
Hasidic.
Yeah, it's
Wizo
okay. It's all good.
for training in structural cognitive modifiability, and you extensive experience working in adult education and special education. So I can say that. Thank you, as well as coaching hundreds of young adults and couples. So you in 2010. You were Canada's only finalist for the Jewish community hero known as the Love Rabbi. Is there a music track to that? Do you guys like?
I know. Shouldn't there be a music
The
track?
Love Rabbi.
There actually is one recently.
Oh yeah.
Some CBC documentary that just came out. Yeah.
Right. You mentioned this here. You were in a CBC documentary called Kosher Love in 2017. You're a regular guest on CTV's Your Morning Breakfast, TV Montreal, and Global News Montreal. And ladies and gentlemen, we have the pleasure of having him joining us on this local news talk show. And, I guess
probably going to be our best introduction of a guest CV that we're ever going to get. I don't think it's ever going to. You just hit the peak of those introductions.
Yeah, I just massacred the.
You just hit the massacre of muck.
I am so sorry to all my Jewish, pious Hebrew friends. It's not a language that I know in any shape. I just
if it
really
makes you feel
it.
better, my girlfriend cannot do the ch sound either, and it drives her nuts when I say it.
Holden knows the ch.
It's because my Hebrew name's Chani.
So
it's in my name. Like it's like, and then you try to explain it, and people are like, "Are you like?" And I'm like, "No, it's ch," and they're like, "How do you say that?"
More phlegm.
Do you guys have to drink a lot of water?
Of course you have to drink water with that much phlegm, for sure.
On that note, I guess I wanted to start the interview kind of light because, there are some pretty serious topics that are going to be raised in this conversation. But I just wanted to, who is Chabad NDG, and and who what's your did I say that wrong? I said that again. Oh, I'm so sorry.
It's the same.
How is it that you, a man of so many talents, finds himself, and his family in NDG? Because you clearly have been in the States and stuff like that. So I'm listening. Shoot.
NDG is the best place in the world.
I know. I keep on telling people this.
It's not even a secret. I'm going to say it's the greatest secret, but it's not even a secret anymore. NDG is a mosaic of culture, of love, of acceptance. We have all ages, all stages. We have everything, and a fantastic walkability to pretty much anything you need. So I love to walk the streets.
There's
I love
a lot of restaurants of multiple cultures too, at a really crazy disproportionate level to other parts of the cities. Like we got blessed with the restaurant situation.
Just in every way, there's NDG is if you want to live the dream, live in NDG. Do I have to say anything else? Lived here for 15 years and love every bit. Started off on Girouard. Moved my way to Summerlid. Now I'm closer to Sherbrooke, but I've been all around the area, so I've got a really good idea, of the area. And
so, were you born in NDG, or were you
born and raised in Chicago?
Now there's a Chicago link.
NDG.
Nah, it's not.
It's okay. So when you grew up, what was it like in Chicago? Did you go through the regular school system? Did you go through a Jewish school system? What was that experience like?
Yeah, I grew up in Chicago. Grew up in going to Jewish school. Ended up to become a rabbi, you can't just decide one day. You can't wake up one day in your 20s and I want to go to rabbinical school. You got to really start when you're young. So I was kind of in rabbinic schools from an early age.
Right. And so how does that lead to coming to Montreal?
Yeah.
People always say you're not from Montreal, you're not Canadian, your wife's not Canadian. How do you end up here? So I just say the stork dropped us.
That's a good story. Was it a Jewish stork?
It just kind of happened. Really, I can't even explain it. It happened, and I'm really happy that it did, because
Right.
I
So
ended up
your wife is not from NDG or Montreal either. I thought it
no,
was a
my
love
wife's
thing.
from Minnesota. My
Huh?
wife's from Minnesota, like totally
That's
two Americans.
wild.
Wow.
Our
So,
kids are all born and raised in NDG, so they're all NDGers.
but again,
That's
that's kind of very. I'm sorry to push back. It's very vague. How do you Chicago, Minnesota, New York, Miami, Montreal? Like, how did that all kind of like those paths all lead here?
Okay, you're really pressing here,
Yes, I will.
because everyone,
Because
usually
I
I can
do.
make a joke and they're like, okay, whatever. uh, I right I right out of rabbinical school, I got a job in Australia.
In
well,
Uh,
Australia.
that's just
ended,
interesting.
ended up
It
there
gets better. Okay. We're in
ended up
Australia
there for
now.
2 years, and
Alrighty.
then I was hired to run a school in Ottawa.
Okay. That's closer.
Yeah, exactly. And that job didn't last very long, and I figured, hey, I was in between things. I said, I'll go to Montreal. There's a bunch of Jews there. I figured maybe I'll find something. Maybe there'll be a synagogue that wanted to hire me. And
That is
I
a
was only
fair
supposed to be
assumption.
I was only supposed to be here for about 6 months, and then now I'm here about 15 years.
And what's your it's Shabbat again
Yeah,
Chabad.
Chabad.
Chabad NDG and how did that happen? How did you get connected with that organization? Is that your organization?
Yeah, if you could describe what Chabad is also, just as like, if I'm not mistaken, that's a bigger movement, right?
Yeah, Holden, what do you know about Chabad?
They encourage young people to come have fun in a way to solicit the Jews to get more involved with the community. That is the best
That
answer I
sounds
can
so.
honestly give.
That sounds so. No,
But it's not meant to be bad. It's just, as opposed to other Jewish movements, y'all are more fun and open-minded and like more willing to adopt a modernistic point of view than other Jewish sects that I understand to be more closed-minded, which isn't meant to pick fights. It's just, I have a complicated Jewish background. My last name is Roy. And that is always, it's just, I didn't really grow up Jewish. It's just, I am Jewish. So it's made it complicated when you try to integrate as an adult. And I have to say, my experiences with Chabad were very welcoming. But I don't know that much about it, except that it's global.
right.
I
Okay.
can say something. What I know is that when I drive by sometimes and I look into your window, there's like seems to be like really cool people hanging out there, and there's always usually food involved. So,
Alex, you can come. You don't have to be Jewish. You can just show up.
I didn't like I again I what Holden knows I know far less. So why don't we hear from you what it's all about? I'm so excited now.
So there's the global Chabad. So Chabad is a movement, a Jewish movement that was actually started about 300 years ago, but became very popular in the past, I would say 40, 50 years globally. And the idea is similar to what Holden was saying, is just kind of really open, and something that is really post-denominational, just something that is there for everyone, for the entire community. And I was raised in this movement, and with the late Lubavitcher Rebbe, who was the leader of the movement, passed away in '94. So I was really inspired by it, and a lot of his teachings and his philosophy on life. Coming to Montreal, I about 15 years ago, I noticed that there was an area of the city with a large Jewish population, but really no infrastructure, no organized Jewish community. I mean, a lot of people. There were synagogues and Jewish communities kind of in the outlines, but not in the heart of NDG. Not that also, and I think all of us can understand that NDG is a unique breed. It's not Hampstead, it's not Westmount, it's not Côte Saint Luc, it's not any other area of the city. And so I picked up on this right away, this really incredible vibe that exists, like this really inclusive, loving mosaic of culture. And so I said, there needs to be something for the Jewish community in NDG that speaks and feels the NDG language.
Mm.
And so we opened up, originally it was a little storefront in Monkland. I won't go into how much storefronts cost to rent on Monkland.
It's madness.
It's absolute madness. These landlords think they're sitting on liquid gold.
Yes.
And so
I've experienced it.
and so
well, God bless their
fast
souls
forward-
if they're able to charge that kind of rent, but I'm not paying
yeah,
it.
but I don't know about us who have to pay the proprietors that have to pay those rents. I feel bad for the rest of us.
Yeah.
And so about 7 years ago, we moved to Sherbrooke and Hampton, and we were able to have a really nice spot there. And we've been
It's
there.
a very nice spot. It's a really great spot. Yeah. And you've done a really good job at the presentation, of, the look of the building. I've noticed that it's very professional.
Is it a synagogue or is it a community center? Like, what exactly is the location?
Yeah, another great question.
It's totally NDG. So first of all, when we gutted the inside of the main floor and we found the billboard that was on the building next door before this one was built in 1919, and it was a billboard with a canning company, so we kept the original billboard there. So it's got like that real inside, that real NDG feel. And
Awesome.
It's just one, we made one large room, and it kind of moves. Sometimes it serves as a synagogue, sometimes as a community center, all types of events. We have events going on all the time. So it really moves. It moves and changes as we need and as the community needs different spaces. So that's what we love about it. Just completely an interchanging space.
That's cool. Great. That is super cool.
So like Chabad then serves the purpose of like being a community hub for the Jewish community that's looking for a community hub.
Yeah, it's even gone beyond that. We've been grateful to have a bunch of apartments above us, and we've been able to take over some of those apartments. And we've actually opened a transition home for people who need immediate place to live. There's a big issue in the community of people that need a place for a night or two or three, or a week or two or three, just something quickly that they can live free of charge. And so we've been able to open that to the broader community. We have other programs, food related programs and other things that are going on that have helped the broader community as well. So it's yes, become a hub for the Jewish community, but we have all types that have come through. And it's not like, people look at it and they look at me, they're like, oh, religious and exclusionary. This is my hipster beard.
How long did it take you to grow that?
Oh, 2 weeks. Holden believes me, right? He knows how long it takes to grow. About 2.5 weeks.
They come quick. They come quick.
Yeah.
That's a good one there. So that's interesting.
No, but it is, because like, if I'm not mistaken, you're making the point that while it is a Jewish organization, this location at least makes the effort to be a part of the greater NDG community and is open to, there's programs or things available for everyone.
Absolutely.
Or who needs it.
That's really our goal. And majority of the community NDG is not at all observant or religious in any shape or form. So, and we know that. And so it needs to be something that is inclusive and loving and caring and kind. We have so many amazing things. I'll give you an amazing example. During the pandemic, my direct neighbor, I live next door to the local imam. We have a mosque on de Maisonneuve. I don't know if a lot of people don't even know
the corner de Maisonneuve and Belgrave.
That's correct. A lot of people don't even know that it exists there. But so right. The imam of the mosque is my direct neighbor, and so during the pandemic, the two of us sitting on our porches, we got into conversations. You can imagine. You can start all the jokes. The rabbi and the imam with all the jokes. I know.
Okay, what's your best rabbi imam joke?
Oh, I don't want to.
Go ahead. I'm really excited to hear this story. Yes, and
talking to him. One day he's saying to me, I'm. It was really sad. I said, "What's sad?" He said, we can't our community, we can't get together because we can't be inside, and what are we going to do? And I said, hold on a second, we have the same problem, because we have no outdoor space, but you guys have an outdoor space.
They have
You
that parking lot. That's
lot.
right. It's huge.
You have that
Yeah.
parking lot. So I said,
that's how I know. That's how I know where they are, because they get in trouble parking in their parking lot.
exactly. So I said, I have a great idea. You give us the parking lot, we will provide the tent, and both of our communities will be able to use the tent. And that's what happened. They gave us use of the parking lot. We put up a beautiful tent there, and throughout the pandemic, the two communities were able to use this joint space. And I thought, that is the best of NDG. You can't speak any louder than the great thing about NDG than that story.
Awesome story.
Right.
I'm really happy that you shared that, and that's a great story. So we're getting an idea of what Chabad. Am I saying that correctly? Chabad NDG is. Okay.
Needs a little more phlegm. Holden.
I've always felt like I've lived in. I'm not an overly religious man, but I was involved with the Roman Catholic Church, St. Kevin's, up in Côte-de-Neiges, and what I have found is that what happens at NDG and Côte-de-Neiges is that they're I find that sometimes we get, and it's not a bad thing, right? We get very much involved in our community and our kin, if we can say that. Like, for example, I'm half Italian. The Italians, they have their Italian things, and the Jewish community has its Jewish things. Filipinos have their Filipino things. And I was always kind of like, well, what we need to do as a community is fine, because we're, the fact of the matter is that we all live in the same community. We share this vibe that you speak of, this super cool vibe. And I've always been like, thinking of ways for us to connect interculturally, right? How do we connect between the communities more? And the story you, shared with us about the Iman and the mosque down the street on Belgrade from you guys, that's an awesome story. And I just love to hear things about that, and to hear about how your organization is reaching out to the community from a larger, perspective. That makes me feel good. That's I like to see that kind of stuff. I think that's important that we talk to each other. And so, I'm going through your profile, and you've already mentioned the fact that you're this super hipster that can grow an amazing beard in 2.5 weeks. And you also call yourself the Love Rabbi. And I have like some kind of jokingly silly things on the agenda, like, do hip rabbis wear sunglasses? Do you have tattoos? And I guess the question I have for you is that what's this? Why do you consider yourself a hipster rabbi? What do you think separates you from other rabbis who are not hipsters?
So, for the record, I dislike all these monikers. Let me just call me you, call me what's up. I don't really care, but what's with the monikers? The hipster rabbi thing started. I was on a show on Vice with Maddie Matheson.
Okay.
A couple of years ago, and he kept on saying, "This is my hipster rabbi. This is my hipster rabbi." So people started calling me hipster.
Okay. So it's stuck.
It's stuck. And then La Presse, when it was in print, did a whole, for their Valentine's Day issue, because I do matchmaking and couple stuff, and
yes.
So they did a whole feature on me, and they called me Le Rabbin de l'Amour, which sounds much better than the Love Rabbi.
It does, yes, but it's French.
Gazette
Everything sounds better in French, right?
The Gazette saw that and did a whole thing called the Love Rabbi, and then some filmmakers made this documentary called Kosher Love and called me the Love Rabbi. So now I have to live with this moniker. Do you hear how difficult this is? Do I look like the Love Rabbi to you?
I can see.
I mean, kinda.
I look like the Love Rabbi to you.
You just came out here on the show and preached love for like 20 minutes straight.
Yeah, I'm gonna call you the Love Rabbi. I'm sorry.
You're also a matchmaker. Like you're like, you set people up for love.
It's total setup.
Okay, fine.
I don't know if all the rabbis
is that really bad?
Maybe that's like a regular rabbinical duty.
It's not. And you know what? I'd rather be called the Love Rabbi than the Hate Rabbi. So I'm good with it.
I think that's a good way of looking at it.
I mean, listen, there's probably a lot of people out there who wish they had monikers, and you've got at least two. and they're real because you didn't choose them.
It is true.
That's a rule for monikers. You can't pick your own one. I mean, we let Alex get away with the Trainman, but
I take license all the time. It's just the way I am. I just do what I want to do. But going on that, like let's stick on the Love Rabbi. You obviously on your profile, your website, you mentioned how you've worked to match up like 100+ couples. And that's a great achievement, and especially in these days of age, in this day of age, and not to sound nostalgic for a past era, but what I do see in now is that relationships have become a lot more difficult to maintain over the longer term. And as the Love Rabbi, do you feel that you're engaged by your flock, if I could use that word, asking you for advice on issues related to the heart? And what is your advice to us, as a community that relationships are important, right? And I sometimes feel that we treat relationships as disposable, right? So what is your advice to us, on dealing with those issues? Love Rabbi.
You're going heavy on the Love Rabbi here. Oh my gosh.
It's a big top. It's so interesting. Like, I mean, I get why all the other people did too, because as a content marketer, I'm just like,
this is gold.
What the Love Rabbi is. It's a hot topic.
I think we need.
Rabbi, Love Rabbi.
I think we have to.
These are good, like catchphrases that make people curious.
Yeah, wait, we're digressing. That was an important question that I want to answer.
No, it is an important question.
Yeah, so sir,
you should give the.
I want your answer on that, sir.
I think it is.
Excuse me, it's not sir. I meant to say Love Rabbi.
Oh, Love Rabbi. I think it's a lost. It's become a lost art. Unfortunately, our society, it's become a larger issue where people don't see relationships in the way that they used to. Mm-hmm. And there's still a need. There is a basic human need for relationship, for love, for unconditional love. And so it's so much harder today to be able to find love. And so in the Jewish community, which is the community that I deal with primarily, there really isn't a venue today to meet. Where does a young person go? If you want to meet a life partner, or you want to meet somebody, where do you go? I mean, there's apps, there's swiping, but if you want to go beyond that culture. And so I saw that there was kind of this void within the community. There really is a void in the community at large, where people are not having a place or a venue or a way to meet. And so enter Love Rabbi, matchmaker and make me a match. Exactly.
So, like, how do people seek you out and be like, I'm looking for a partner, and then you have,
now
like,
I have
a dossier? Like, are you just?
I have a whole site now called jmontreal.com.
Wow. And Chabad NDG, do you have like singles, like speed dating nights and stuff like that? Does that happen?
Nobody likes singles. Single sounds really
okay,
taboo.
So what do you call it?
I like to say you're 50% of your potential relationship.
Okay.
You're not single. You're 50% of the relationship. You're not zero. Mm-hmm. You're not alone. Mm-hmm. You're fine. You look at Holden here. He's happy. Everything is good. One's a wonderful guy. Mm-hmm. You're 50% of your potential relationship.
Mm-hmm. Fair enough. Yeah, I hear there's a repeated theme that I hear is that if you want to be in a relationship or you want to meet someone, learn to love yourself, because you're half of the relationship, right? That you're half of the equation, right?
That's it. We can go on the road together now. You got it all.
So, like,
no, I could never be the love doctor. I mean, the Love Rabbi. I'm Trainman. I can get us where we need to be. I just
Tonight,
can't. I just
the
can't.
Love Rabbi and Trainman.
We have to have this guy on the show on a regular basis, man. We need a Love Rabbi segment.
It's really, like, I just think it's really interesting what you're saying, because I was recently listening to this podcast where they were talking about how prior to Me Too, though this is related, but prior to Me Too, 1 in 3 couples met at work. And then because of the Me Too movement, men no longer feel permitted to pursue women in the workplace. Whether or not that is a good or a bad thing, this is just a what has happened thing. And so, especially with the rise of work from home and COVID, it's almost like the town hall, town square, that work and the lunch table and things like that played in our lives kind of got completely demolished, at least in terms of the purposes of romantic endeavors. So when you brought up the physical location thing, it's like there is really not as many, except for places where you get fucked up, for lack of a better term. Those are the places where we congregate. Or there's lots of children around. That's the other places where we all congregate, and that's not great for romance. It's great for what happens after romance.
I hadn't heard about that with the Me Too movement, but that's fascinating. And what I do see on the ground is that it's harder and harder to meet somebody if you want to meet someone. And that's where we have to help. We have no choice.
And yeah, dating sites no longer are really all that effective.
No,
is my understanding. If they become highly gamified in weird places. I haven't partook in.
If you want an instant gratification relationship, then maybe it's good. But if you want something more long term, it's much more difficult.
I met my wife online on Plenty of Fish, by the way.
Yeah, I met my girlfriend on Plenty of Fish too. But back in the day, back when people wrote profiles and you actually had to read like paragraphs before it was the swipe era.
That's not happening anymore. There's a lot more swiping. It's all swiping now. It's no Plenty of Fish.
But it's also swiping with
plenty of
filters. So like on top of that, like people just don't look like what they look like in their pictures. So there's just cognitive dissonance from jump when you actually get to the part of meeting people, and it is kind of weird. It's the same thing like when you meet like your heroes in music or things like that, and then like the illusion gets broken, except that's not supposed to be what it's like in dating.
Exactly.
So, moving along, because this is all very fascinating.
It is fascinating.
I'm so being a person who is engaged in the I guess the task or the job of helping people meet each other. One of the things that I have I kind of discovered from my parents, and you talk to the older generation, is that buildings of faith, activities of faith were also a way in which people met. And that's happening less and less these days, right? People are not going to church, or they're not going to the temple, or they're not going to the synagogue or the mosque. I could go on. There's quite a few.
Of course, because what are they going to go for? Absent-minded recitations? Like, what's the point?
Yeah. Well, yeah. That's a big one you just opened there. I don't know if we should explore that or not. And
look, I'm a rabbi. We can talk about anything, really.
Right.
It's all safe with me. No one's listening.
So this is Chabad NDG? Is that your baby? Is that your creation? It exists because you're the man who saw that vision. Well, there we go, ladies and gentlemen. That is sweet,
and blood and tears.
Yeah, I would imagine an exercise of that nature, and a project of faith. There's blood and tears in that, but there's also joy and satisfaction too, right?
In NDG, where there's really no community space or very little community space,
right? And you made that happen. Wow, that is an achievement in itself. So congratulations to you. So going on, I one of the things that happened last week and inspired me to reach out to you is I was driving on Saint Jacques in my truck, and I saw your billboard, and it reminded me of the unfortunate circumstances we find ourselves in this world right now from a global perspective. We have innocent people who are not combatants who have been taken hostage in a conflict in Gaza, Gaza, and we are also reading in the news on a daily basis about the Russian-Ukrainian war, which is very disturbing. But back on the poster, what motivated you and your organization to because that costs money, right? That wasn't cheap, putting that billboard on Saint Jacques. What motivated you to do that? To make that statement?
So obvious. I mean, when the terrible atrocity happened on October 7th in Israel, it really affected the Jewish community at large, but it affected us. I hopped on a plane a couple days later and went there to see how I can help.
Mm-hmm.
And coming back, I was there for 2 weeks. right after the atrocity, and just to be able to help. I mean, I can go into what I saw and experienced, and it's messed me up for life. That's for sure. I have not been the same since.
Right.
It was, I mean, beyond anything you could ever imagine. And bearing witness, seeing it with my own eyes. I mean, nobody can tell me, and all the hearsay and the news, nobody can tell me anything. I saw it with my own eyes. I was there on site. I came back and I just saw there was a lot of disinformation here. And there was a group of people in the community who felt like there needed to be some kind of very real awareness of what's going on, especially since these are things that have moved, not just, you can say it's going on the other side of the world, but not so much, because there's a lot of things that have affected us here in the community as well, as far as just various protests. I'm involved with Concordia. We've had quite a number of issues over there as well. And what was fascinating to me is when we actually went to the billboard company to do the billboard. Now, I don't know if we did not want to put our name on it. We just wanted to bring awareness to what's going on. And we thought that would be the best way, just find a spot with a lot of people passing and say, look, what people can look like Alex, like, what is that? Maybe I need to, realize that it's not just something on the other side of the world. The billboard company was so scared of putting it up with the ramifications that they required us to put our name on it. And that's how we had anything to do with it. We didn't want anyone to know we had anything to do with it. We just wanted to bring awareness. They would not let us put up the billboard. And you can look at every other billboard everywhere else. There's no names unless they have a specific reason to put the name up.
Just follow to that conversation about that fear and how there was this resistance. I like when I'm getting the sense from you is a certain resistance that the billboard company wanted to dissociate itself and attach a name that wasn't associated with them to the message. There was also a campaign by some individuals of putting up posters reminding people of the fact that hostages were taken in Israel. And we had Joel Shijo on the show, and he's a journalist for the Suburban, and he reported on the fact that the city had removed some of them because of complaints. Now, my question to you is, was that drive putting up those posters from your organization as well, or is that just completely?
That had nothing to do with us, but it did affect us, because when we found out that people were ripping them down, and then the city had said that they should be taken down, we said, well, it's a strange thing, because I see posters about lots of things.
We had an argument. We had a really lively conversation about that online, by the way. But go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I have no problem. I always look at the polls and see what's today's poster. I've seen your posters on the polls, which are fantastic. It's part of the mosaic of our community. We get to see lots of different things, and all of a sudden there was one particular poster that was singled out from all the others, and that was definitely, we were surprised. Look, we're nobody's looking to we're all peace-loving people, but no one's looking to make any problems. But why one is singled out? And then that was where it came out. Well, if they're going to make us rip down our little posters, let's get one that they won't rip down.
Oh, so it did motivate for you to get the billboard. Was that incident?
Absolutely.
I've seen like other billboards in the city, like in other neighborhoods. Is it like Chabad as a whole that's doing this?
No, they were all ours. We did 50.
You did 50 in the entire city?
Chabad NDG did all of the ones around the entire city. Because I know.
Yes.
It was pretty far east.
That is just incredible. You pulled that. You pulled that off?
It wasn't me. It was the community and a group of very, very special people who wanted to do it. Again, you would never know that if they didn't require us to put our name on it.
Well, I didn't know that. I only knew about the sun in Saint Jacques. I didn't realize the entire city you guys were the source of that too. That's a big piece of news. I'm surprised and shocked, because I spent a life in marketing and sales and marketing, that is a significant and serious campaign. That is not
What
something that is like, that's not rinky dink here. This is not putting posters on posters. I mean, on street furniture now. This is a major ordeal.
what was amazing about it is we made a website in French specifically about the hostages that was just associated with the campaign. We wanted to have an idea of how many people would actually, so which means somebody had to see the billboard,
Right.
note of the website, and then go and look up what the heck are these billboards.
Uh-huh.
And so we wanted that the only other way was not online. There was no other way to get access to that particular URL and that campaign, which was just a website that was talking about those hostages and what's going on there and why it matters to us in Montreal.
So you tracked it. You got some.
And over the course, it was 30 days that we had. That was what we had the billboards up for. Over the course of the 30 days, and even we still have it up. We had a little bit under 1 million hits.
Wow. That's in the Montreal area. So that means people hit your websites more than once then.
Shit.
That is nuts. That is off the charts. That's crazy. Well, crazy in a good way. That's just amazing.
Billboards and got 1 million hits.
So if you want to know if billboards work,
I did always want to know if billboards work.
Wow. That is just incredible.
Smackaroni.
Holy smokes.
And
that's like a lot of the population.
Yeah. Oh, I'm assuming that there were people that went more than once. Like
it has to be.
And like people who shared it online, and
maybe they shared it, and maybe. But the only way to initially find out about it was through those billboards. And wanted to see what impact it would have.
Yeah, because the population of Montreal is like what 1.7 million, 1.5 million. And the greater Montreal area is bigger. The greater Montreal area is bigger. Yes, but we're talking about the city Montreal proper.
And we purposely made the website only in French.
Oh, so the website's only in French. But would you consider Chabad NDG? Do you consider yourself a French institution, English, or just multilingual?
It's multilingual for everyone, you know, with whatever works. I mean, we live in NDG, so it ends up probably being primarily English because it's
right. Fair enough. It's
the reality.
That's cool.
It's just a reality.
That's perfectly reasonable. I have to remind people of that all the time. Not people in NDG, people outside NDG, but that's fine.
Yeah, no, I get through that a lot. People are like, "Where are you from?" I'm like, "Montreal." "Where do you live?" "NDG." "Oh, you guys speak English over there?" And I'm like, Yeah. People say hi in the store. They don't say bonjour.
And we have a culture, and we're really nice people. If you come down, you know, you could eat some really good food.
Yeah,
all that kind of stuff.
We're not so scary. And look at all of us. I mean, like, we're just all different strokes, different folks, and having a good time.
And we have a good time. We laugh. That's right.
Yeah.
So, you know, continuing on the conversation, very, very, you know, serious topic. You know, like your neighbor's an Iman, right? And we live in NEG, a community where I personally take pride in the vibe that we have and the fact that we live and work together in peace. And, you know, we have a collective, I really sincerely believe that, the majority or the large majority of the portion of the population is committed to, harmony, you know, living together and finding a way, to accept and be tolerant of other people. What do you tell your flock as a spiritual leader? You know, in this day and age, I'm shocked, right? Because I'm a student in political science. Yeah, sure. I studied realpolitik and, you know, the view of the world vis-a-vis, you know, as per Henry Kissinger. But I really truly felt that we were in an age of globalism. I thought we were moving away from these kind of terrible, like, conflicts, especially when it relates to. I understand there's a lot of antagonism and long history of conflict in Israel and Gaza with the Palestinian population, but what really disturbed me, and I'm not trying to dilute what's happening in Gaza, I apologize for that, but what really disturbed me was the whole fiasco in Europe with Russia invading Ukraine, because, you know, that was the Second World War, and we remember what happened then, right? We're still recovering from the consequences of that bullshit, right?
Absolutely. And we have actually in our community, right, this weekend, we're going to have the 90th birthday of a Holocaust survivor in our community. Right.
Yeah, so saying
celebrating his birthday, so it's it's a local NDGer who went through all of that.
So what do you tell your flock? What's your spiritual guidance to us? during these dark times? Because I needed a little light, from a global perspective, I need a little light. Can you give me some light?
Darkness is not a creation. Darkness is the absence of light.
Mm.
If you're in a dark room, all you have to do is flip the switch.
Mm.
And that's our job. Our job, we can very easily, somehow the media and people around us are so good at sensationalizing things that are not good. Our job is to flip the switch and to bring a little light and to ask questions like not what I need, but what am I needed for? To try to look around. And I know this is such a quality of an NDG. I remember years ago, you probably remember him. There was a wonderful man named Steve who used to stand outside of the Provigo on Monkland. Do you remember him? Every day he was there. And he was a wonderful guy. One day I used to talk to him, and he said, I have asked for change outside many places, but this is the best. This is the best place to ask for change. And it really made me so happy to hear that, how kind and giving our community is. That's where we have to be. And I love walking by the pantry on Sherbrooke and filling it up. I'm always kind of send my kids over there with whatever we have to and it's always full, and then it's empty, and then it's full again, and there's constantly people that care about being about that pantry. I mean, this is a wonderful, wonderful community that is so kind.
There's also the fridge at Cafe 92.
Yeah, absolutely. The fridge at Cafe 92, of course. We have a wonderful community. We are part of the light, and we have to continue realizing that we are a beautiful community. We live together. We live together in harmony. We live together in peace. We're all types of people living together. And we also not only care about ourselves, but we care about each other. The other day in the middle of the snow, I see my neighbors helping each other out with their cars. We don't even know, most people in the world today don't even know their neighbors. I am so grateful that I know almost everyone on my block. And sometimes in summer we throw little alley
like
parties.
That in the apartment building parts of NDG.
That is what NDG really is. We are the light.
Can I ask you a tough question from the comments?
Sure.
Yeah, so if this is from Hude, but I just want to be fair. If we ask people to ask, questions, they go, it's good that you can travel to see the atrocity in Israel, but what about the atrocity in Gaza? 25,000 Palestinians were killed. Most of them were children. And I'm curious personally where Chabad NDG would stand and in answering a question like that in terms of how you feel about Israel's response to the situation.
That's a tough question.
It's a really tough. It's a tough question also because often it's a question that's asked without context. It's very easy for us in here in Montreal to. Firstly, I want to say that our job here in Montreal is to be together and to show those. Like I always say to my neighbor, the two of us, we're showing the Israelis and the Palestinians how to be able to live in peace. That's number one. Our job is to pursue peace and to be after peace. And what we want is this terrible, terrible thing to be over, and that everyone should be able to live together in harmony. What's going on with the innocent Gazans is terrible. It's terrible. What happened in Israel is terrible. And today we have a very, very difficult task. I think that somehow we become Mideast commentators without knowing so much of what's really going on in that region. I was able to spend quite a bit of time on the Israel-Gaza border. I did learn from both sides a little more of what's going on. And even though I was there and saw what I saw, I still know nothing.
Right.
And so there's parts of this that are way beyond us. There's parts of this that we will never understand or know. And I think that sometimes we get involved in politics just for the sake of the conversation and not for the sake of helping. So if we can help and we can solve the problem and we can do good for someone, then I think that's the conversation we need to have. If we're just having a conversation because, oh, this terrible thing and that terrible thing, and what about 25,000 Gazans? I'm very sad. I'm very, very sad. I'm also very sad for the fact that there's people who are living amongst innocent civilians and throwing rockets from the kitchen windows from innocent civilians. I mean, there's a lot more going on than we really understand. So to start throwing out statements are very difficult. But I would like to keep to ideas that are, what can we do? If we can do something to solve the crisis, wonderful. If we're not able to, then maybe we should just try to find another crisis that we can help solve, like maybe a crisis in our community.
Yeah, it's saying that. I agree with you 100%. I have a BA from McGill University in political science, and just one thing I learned from my BA in political science from McGill University is not to talk about things you don't know about. And I just
don't talk about religion or politics, right?
Well, I talk about politics all the time. So,
Right.
and I will talk about religion because animals, we are political animals, whether we want to admit it or not. And I think that's important as a community that we do talk about politics. Is we're not talking about politics and we're not taking care of politics, somebody else is going to take care of politics for us. I really truly believe in that. But I will say that the situation in Gaza, Israel, is become so complex that you need to spend months just to get a slight grasp on it. And as they say in war, the first victim of war is truth, right? So it's very difficult. I find it very difficult for me personally to make any comments or analysis of the situation whatsoever. But I will say this: I don't like hearing about people getting killed, anybody getting killed, be it innocent soldiers, anybody. And I think that's not good for the world. I don't think it's good for us. And I think that, we need to be very, very careful when we start talking about using violence as solutions to problems.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think that's...
But I'm not... Yes, go ahead.
I do just think there's a lot of that. Like, I don't think anybody likes hearing about people getting killed, but one of the blessings of this area is these things can be highlighted. And there is a lot of atrocities taking place in the world with a lot of governmental powers that are ignoring it. Like, my understanding is Netanyahu isn't even reflecting the Israeli people's wishes in his campaign. So it's even more convoluted than a lot of people think. So it's like, I think it's worth getting involved with an understanding that we don't necessarily fully understand with, because activism is an important part of the greater global political conversation. And I do think that, like, I was in Israel in July 2014 in the last time this flared up, and it was like I saw the difference between how it was reported at home and what was going on in Israel, and it's apples and oranges sometimes. But I also saw the Israeli government lying as much as the Western media was lying. So it's just a very big mess where there's not a simple answer. But I also think we can't ignore it in the comfort of our neighborhoods too, and it is worth paying attention to. I just don't have... I like what you said about focusing on what we can fix or build upon. And I think there has to be a way to move past the passion of the emotional reactions, which is important, and take that fuel and turn it into something of like communities coming together. I don't know how to solve the Israel-Palestine conflict.
I don't think any of us do.
But I think
maybe they need the rabbi of love.
But I think it's amazing that young people care as much as they do.
I think it's great. I think it's great.
I don't want to quell that at all, and I don't want them to stop watching the news and consuming the media. I think we need people to feel that fire, because there is some dirt going on in the upper echelons. Just look at the wealth gap growing over COVID by such a radical shift towards rich people. Like, there's a lot of bad going on. And the only way we find out is by facing these harsh truths.
A lot of good going on too, right? I think the social media revolution, like this conversation we have here, is revolutionary. We may not appreciate it in our modesty right now, but I think that 10, 20 years from now, when they look back to this era, I think that you're going to see the seeds of, kind of bringing democratization down to a lower level of, to neighbor, friend to friend. But saying that, I'm sorry, Rabbi, but I'm going to continue. I know it's a difficult subject, but I think it needs to be said. What I find, though, in my conversation, I have a lot of friends from the Jewish community. I love Jewish food. Bagels. I'm basically a man who's directed by his stomach. And when
As many men are.
and what I notice a lot in, I want to be empathetic. I think empathy is very important, to understand and try to understand people from, coming from their perspective. And what I have noticed is that, and what I think a lot of people do not consider when they talk about, the issues confronting the Jewish community, is that there's always the Second World War, the Holocaust, always hanging in the memory, right? The collective memory. It's really a traumatic experience for any community to go through. I think that the Jewish community, continues to deal with that collectively. And I'm just, the reason why I'm raising it is because I think that it's important that when we look at these type of issues, that we keep that in context, because I think that sometimes that's lost. People try to see things in a vacuum, what's happening right now, and they're not really appreciating the history, how we got here, where we are, and where we need to go. What do you think? What's your response, or how do you feel when I say something like that?
Well, I think that you're right. A lot of people do think and react in a vacuum. And a lot of people don't see the broader context. And in the Jewish community, unfortunately, we don't have any shortage of tragedies. And the Holocaust survivor community in Montreal was, and to a certain extent is, one of the largest in the world.
Right.
With so many survivors came here after the Holocaust. And so we have to be, the Jewish community, we're constantly having to be sensitive to the global picture, and also looking at how the history repeats itself. I mean, one of the reasons why Israel is so important to us, even living here in Montreal, is because we are students of history. And a lot of people will say that if Israel existed in the times of the Holocaust, maybe the story would have been a little different if the Jews had somewhere to go, but the Jews had nowhere to go. And that said, a lot of the Jewish community in Montreal is also from the Arabic countries, right? A lot of Moroccan Jews, a lot of Algerian, and from Iran, from Syria, from all these countries. What ended up happening in 1948 is a lot of the countries of which Jews were living under in the Arab world for many, many centuries, they were all thrown out. And so there's that whole story as well that has to be dealt with, that it has a tremendous impact on the way people look at Israel today.
And there's the programs. Am I saying that the programs in Russia?
Yeah, the program, exactly.
Yeah, terrible pronouncing words.
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah.
So back on a positive spin, I had, I have it in the agenda, I have a dream. I just thought it tickles me to think about it. I'm not a spiritual man, but I really do see the value in people like yourself who involve themselves in spiritual matters, right? Because I think there's a lot to be learned in that. And I respect that. And I kind of had this idea that, we could have even an NDG spiritual council, have an imam, a rabbi, a Catholic priest, and I think it's an Osho is the Buddhist version of a priest, and almost have a spiritual council to guide us in these these dark periods. I think people would listen to the message of a council like that. I think that
I'm in. Sign me up.
Alex,
you start it.
Interdenominational council, to come out, make statements for the community about local needs, think locally. I mean, think globally, act locally kind of deal, right?
And I think NDG is the perfect place for.
I do.
Because there's such inclusivity.
I get tingles just thinking about it. And I think people would listen to that. I say, what does the council have to say? The council has an announcement to make. And it obviously wouldn't be something we do every week, or they would do every week, excuse me, because I am not of that.
And you know what? I don't mind if you put an atheist on there and
secular
spiritualist.
I was gonna say, if you really want it, you kind of would want to throw the atheist on there, because otherwise, my first thought was, I don't think Alex is aware of how much people are pushing back on religious leaders right now in the younger.
Well, I can definitely tell you. I get looks all the time.
I don't have a problem with an atheist being on the council.
Me too. I think it's wonderful. Let's get in.
But the atheist has to be involved in spiritual matters in the capacity that he or she's an atheist. If that makes any sense to you,
Absolutely. You have to be religiously atheist.
Exactly. Okay, we'll just leave that because I don't know where that's going to go.
Like
religiously atheist. Well, no, like you, as someone who's connected to the land, or maybe even an Aboriginal.
I love it. Yes, let's get.
But can you call an Aboriginal an atheist? I can't really call him an atheist.
I like this, but
this is really expanding.
We can broaden this because it's good to broaden this to go beyond.
I'm writing down the Aboriginal and atheist right now. By the way, I'm getting that down.
But not together. It's not an Aboriginal atheist.
Yeah, and Aboriginal.
But like it's just tapping into various communities and having leaders of the community get together to kind of form an informal council of what a government's supposed to be could be really interesting.
Yeah, they're not there to tell us what to do. I think it's more of a question of like helping us find the light. Just turn on the switch.
Ethics, morality, finding the light. I love that. It's called the Light Council.
Love it. So going on, I know that I want to first of all thank you for taking the time to talk to us, and I sincerely hope we're trying to build something here, Holden and I, a community kind of talk, network, help the community connect. We really sincerely hope you come back on the show because maybe a year from now, like we're the craze in the neighborhood and everybody's sitting on their seats Tuesday nights waiting for the Trainman report, right? But saying that, I wanted
more importantly, at least watching it after on the video on demand and then coming, because that's just as acceptable. We know that some Tuesdays at 6 I'm already like, damn.
Isn't this guy awesome? This host is awesome. And I have to thank Holden. Without Holden, this wouldn't be possible. But
we really care about the 75% of people who don't vote, and the fact that the entire political structure doesn't care if you're not a homeowning parent, and a few other factors that I've come to see in my little efforts to get more involved in the community.
Absolutely, the bike lanes care about that too.
What's that, sir? I missed that.
Bike lanes care about that too.
Yes. Lots of loaded statements being thrown around right now.
I love the
but that's all good.
Topic.
This is fine. This is what this show is about.
I can also ask you tough questions.
It's about living, right? Oh, please shoot. I love tough questions. But saying that, I know that your time is limited. Okay. And I did, when I was prepping for this meeting, I did notice that you have an event being held on January 24th, and that's tomorrow night, right?
Yes.
Do you want to talk about that?
I would love to talk about it, but it's actually completely sold out. I would, but
okay. Well, give us an example of the type of events you have. Why don't we use this?
So this is we actually it's going to be so tomorrow night is a Jewish holiday. It's called Tu B'Shvat, which is the New Year for the trees, and an opportunity to think, believe it or not, but right now in the Jewish calendar is the beginning of spring. I know it doesn't look like it outside, but it is. Oh, look at that! Look at that!
I made this.
That's really cool.
I made this mini menorah for my layout, and I wanted to share it with you.
I love that. I know. I actually, when you posted that. On your train set, I actually I posted it on Facebook and said how amazing I thought it was. Really amazing that you included so many different cultures in your whole train situation.
Yes, but go on with the event. I'm basically I want to end the show on you like telling us all these great things that your organization is doing, and this is an example. Go ahead.
Yeah, so we're doing a culinary evening with a chef and wine pairing with a sommelier, and we're going to be learning about the land and connecting with the land. So there we go.
Food
really
and
exciting.
wine.
I know. I feel so bad that I
and it's sold out. It's sold out. Are you telling me I can't go?
And
I could have gone because I could go.
You could sneak in. He'll get you.
I'll go as Trainman.
Generally speaking, our events are totally open and people just show up. But this one happens to be one of those that is a little more not.
And you guys have a website people can follow and get all the information.
JewishNDG.com. How hard is that?
And is there you have you said you call it mass or the Sabbath is Saturday for you
Sabbath
guys.
Synagogue services. Yeah, we have every Friday night at sundown, so it changes Friday night, but Saturday morning is always 10 a.m. and afterwards all eat lunch Whoever's there, everybody eats lunch together.
So I
afterwards.
can come to your center and I could listen to the mass and join you for lunch afterwards. Is that something that'd be available to me or anybody in
Pleasure.
NDG? Oh, isn't that nice? That is
Not
so
only that,
nice.
we will open the door and we will leave the light on for you.
Oh, that's nice. I really like that. You know, if I'm having a moment, I that's really cool.
Bring
And
Holden
again,
with you.
and again, in like ending the show, I want to give you a special thanks. Thank you for joining us. I say this to everybody that joins us, but you know what? We all have a story to share, right? We're all special in our own way. I really believe that strongly.
You're both so special. This is amazing that you're doing this.
And again, I'm really like beside myself that you agreed to join us and share your story, share your kind of your dream, your vision of Chabad NDG and what you've done in the community, putting context of some of the challenges we're facing internationally and locally, and really also expressing the love that's here for all of us. Thank you very much.
Thank you. It's a pleasure. Absolute
I
pleasure.
love Rabbi.
And before we get off, just want to say thank you to
Love it,
everybody
man.
who
I just
tuned
love it.
in and
love
for the
it.
comments that came in. We appreciate you for participating. Make sure to go on the YouTube and subscribe to the channel and catch all the old episodes of the Trainman Report, because good luck finding the Facebook videos after the fact. This is just for the live, and because Thrive NDG is so, this is the localist show, so we know that's where the community is. We get what it is, but because of that, share it with your friends, because that's the only way this will grow, and let people know that if they want to be on the show and leverage the platform and talk about whatever, like I'm all into I see all the benefit of local business owners being able to come on here and talk about what they do, or various community groups, or let's just have a mom come on here and talk about mom stuff. Because trust, I don't know about mom stuff. So it's like, what are the real NDG issues? After the bike path fiasco, what I realized is that I don't know if everybody's aware of what the real NDG issues are, because that was some super white people shit going on over there. And so like NDG's a little more...
for mayor.
I don't know about that. Y'all don't want me. I'll be out there. You want me out there like punditing. You want me calling these people to that's more.
Trainman just wants to be a city councilor. I'm saying Holden for mayor.
That's right. That's right.
Shoot, man, I see how they treat them. I see how the NDG people treat these public servants. They're mean.
True.
It's
true.
But we do appreciate y'all watching this, and I really hope that you come back. We're going to be live every Tuesday at 6 p.m., and then they're streaming it to YouTube, so it's just thereafter now. And it'll be on all the podcast networks pretty soon after the episode's out. So that being said, thank you all for watching, and don't worry, we'll make a Patreon soon so you can financially support us and we can grow in all the good podcaster stuff you're supposed to. And when Cult Montreal announces their list, we technically started in 2023, so you know who you're voting for in the best podcast of 2023.
Yeah, you are. You do. You know.
Appreciate everybody.
It's a place you find the Love Rabbi.
Exactly.
And live long and prosper, everyone.